If you're coming into the UK as a skilled worker, either as a registered nurse, healthcare assistant, domiciliary care worker, or with any professional background, these are the documents that you need to have at hand even before you get to the customs and immigration or the point of entry at the UK airport. The last thing you want is to be detained at the airport several hours to go through the stress, the harassment, or even to the point of being deported back to your country just because you didn't have these documents with you. So if you want to know these documents that you need to have at hand at the airports or at the customs and immigration in the UK, please stick around, watch to the end, and also don't forget to share this video and subscribe to this channel. Hello guys, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Diana. I share content on how you can successfully migrate to the UK, and I also share basically any updates on UK immigration. So since the beginning of this year, UK government has been very vigilant, putting lots of measures in place to cut down on net migration. They are doing everything in their power just to control immigration, and now they've turned their attention to asking a series of questions at the UK border. And so it's putting a lot of fear in people who are even yet to come to the UK. So this particular video is to go through with you a list of documents that you should have with you before you even get on a flight to come to the UK. So I've got my list here, so I'll just be going through with you, not in any particular order. So even if you are coming as a dependent, some of these documents apply to you. Number one and most important document is your passport. There's no way you travel without this document. It should have your legal name, your date of birth, your place of birth, the passport issue date, your expiry date, and all of that, which I believe we all know. So once you get to the UK border, the immigration officer will definitely take your passport from you. They will flip through, and the first question they might ask you is, what's your name? They want to be sure the name that you mention is what's stated in your passport. That's one of the most important documents that you should not even forget at all. Another important document you should have with you is your job offer. So as a skilled worker, obviously you would have gone through that process of applying for a job, going through an interview process, being shortlisted and all of that. So if you are successful at the interview and the employer is happy to hire you, they will give you an official letter, which is the offer of employment or job offer letter. So that job offer letter would obviously have the name of the company, the address, the kind of job you'll be doing, and a few roles and responsibilities, like the terms and conditions attached to the job. So that would obviously be the reason why you're coming into the UK to do this job. So right at the airport, they'll definitely ask you what you're coming to do here. So the evidence of the reason for you coming into the UK will be your job offer. So you should have the job offer letter at hand. You can't possibly miss that job offer letter. At least it will serve as evidence that you are in the UK for the right purpose. The next document they would ask, which is one of the most important, all the documents are important, but this very one is so important that you can't even do without, which is your certificate of sponsorship. Without the certificate of sponsorship, you can't even apply for the work visa in the first place as a skilled worker. So the certificate of sponsorship, an important document that is issued by the employer. So after the employer has given you the offer letter, they will also give you that certificate of sponsorship. You attach that certificate of sponsorship with the job offer and all the other documents to apply for the work visa. So that certificate of sponsorship will have the name of the employer, their license number, reference number. It will have details of the job they're going to give you. It would have details of the job you're going to do, a brief description of the roles and responsibilities of that job, the annual salary, the hourly rates, and all of that. So it's very important, and that details or proves or gives them evidence that you are here to do this job with this company, and at least you are here for the right reasons. They could also ask you evidence of how you got the job. So now they've realized that people are paying huge sums of monies to people and they don't even know the process, or they don't go through the entire process of applying for the job themselves. So if you ask them how they apply for the job, they may not be able to answer. But if you are asked how you apply for the job, or proof or give evidence of how you apply for this job and you cannot provide it, then they start being suspicious. So do not give them that chance to even be suspicious at all. If you have evidence or proof of how you apply for the job, for instance, if you applied for the job online, or if you apply through the company website, you should have proof of the documents that you used in applying for the job. If there is any correspondence between you and the employer by email, you should have proof of that. Obviously, before you get the job, you go to an interview. So if there is any evidence by email of your employer sending you an email with a link for your interview, you can also print that out, so that it will be proof that you actually went through that whole process of applying for the job, going through that interview, and they just want to see that there's some kind of correspondence between you and the employer, and they want to know that you actually secured the job through the right means. So please have all of these documents at hand. They would also want to know where you'll be staying in the UK. they can ask for proof of where you'll be staying in the UK. So sometimes most of the employers do make arrangement for temporary accommodation. So if something like that has been arranged for you, you have to provide proof of that. You could ask the employer to send you details of the particular place, the address that you'll be staying, so that if they ask you, even if you cannot memorize the exact address, at least have it printed, so that in case they ask you, you just mention the address to them or just show it to them. So this is just a tip or an add-on regarding the address. They could ask you, how are you going to get to your address? They really want to know that you are going to the address that you've stated. So you can tell them you're going to use a train or a bus or book a taxi at the airport to get there. The document they will ask is the address or the details of the employer you'll be working for. So obviously, if you have a job offer, it will have the details or information about the employer. So you should know where your employer is located, where their office is, what company it is. You should have a brief details about them. So even if you are not really sure, just go onto their website, get information about their address and a bit more details about their company, just so that when you get to the airport and they ask you, you can give more information to them about the employer, so that they will know that indeed you are confident about what you are coming to do here in the UK. If you are coming on your own, it's fine. You just have to get your own document. But if you are coming with your dependents, which is your spouse, your children, you just have to make sure you have documents that shows that you have that connection or that link with them. So as couples, you should have details of your marriage certificates or any pictures to prove, just to prepare yourself. You never know. If you are coming with your children, you should also have copies of their birth certificates, at least something to prove that indeed they are your real children. The last thing you want is for them to be suspecting that you guys are not even married, So just make sure you've got all of those documents that prove that you guys are truly married. You should also get your IELTS certificate or your English proficiency certificate. UK is English speaking country, so they would want to know that you are confident in English. Even before you apply for the visa, you write that UKVI exam. So make sure you have that as well with your documents. Also, before you apply for the visa, you also do a tuberculosis screening test. So please make sure you have the tuberculosis certificate with you as part of your documents. So the next document I'm going to mention is driving license. This may not be something that they will ask everybody, but they might ask you based on what type of job you tell them you're coming to do in the UK, just to be sure that you really know what you're coming to do. So for instance, if you ask you what job you're going to do and you mention domiciliary care, they know that as a domiciliary care worker, how can you move from house to house without driving? So as evidence that you really drive, you should have an international driving license and you should have it with you. So they don't ask you questions just for asking sake. So please make sure if you mention that you're going to be working as a domiciliary care worker, please make sure you've got your international driving license with you, just to avoid further questions. If you are coming as a skilled worker, obviously you've attended or you've had some formal training in school. So bring along your qualification certificates. If you're a nurse, if you're a healthcare assistant, whatever training that you had, make sure you have the certificates with you as well. Because if they ask you what experience have you got, or how long have you been a nurse, or how long have you been in this profession, obviously they will know that you had some form of training in school, either college, university. So you have all of those certificates with you, so that in case they ask you of evidence of your qualification for this job that you're coming to do in the UK, you have it to prove to them. The last document I want to talk about is CV and cover letter. So when they ask you for the evidence of your qualification or your school certificate, they may ask you also for CV, because the CV will also have details of your school, your work experience, your educational background and all of that. So please have it and make sure they match with the qualification certificate that you are providing. And also, if you attach any cover letter whilst you're applying for the job, make sure you have it together with the CV. The tip I'm going to give you regarding all of these documents I've mentioned, put all of these documents in one folder or in one file. And make sure you don't put it in your main luggage, because the main luggage will not be with you when you get to the customs. The main luggage, you're going to have access to the main luggage after you've passed through all of these customs and immigration. So if they ask you for any documents, and if you unfortunately have them in your main luggage, how can you provide all of these documents when they are locked up in your main luggage? So have it in your backpack or with your hand luggage, your handbag, so that once they ask you, you have it ready to show it to them. If there's any other document you can think of, please put it in the comment section so that at least those who are migrating to the UK as skilled workers will have all of this, just to avoid the stress of going through that deportation or being detained for several hours. It can be so stressful, and it will make you even panic more. Even if you feel like everything is correct, it will still make you panic. So just make sure you've got everything together and everything is on point before you get on the flight to get into the UK. So I hope this has been very, very helpful and useful whilst you make preparation for your travel to the UK. If there's any questions, please put it in the comment section and I'm happy to get back to you on that. I wish you the very best in your job and visa applications, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.